She walked in just after noon, the kind of woman who made silence feel deliberate. High heels tapped across the hardwood floor like a ticking clock. Her perfume hit first, expensive, discreet, followed by a flash of red lipstick and guarded eyes. "My name is Claire Hudson," she said, settling into the leather chair across from my desk. "I think my husband is cheating on me." I didn't flinch. I've heard it 100 times. Husbands, wives, secrets, regrets, it always starts the same. But Claire wasn't typical. She spoke slowly, carefully, like each word had been vetted by a lawyer. "He's changed," she continued. "The late nights, the second phone, the sudden work trips. He's not the man I married." I nodded, flipping open a fresh case file. "What does your husband do?" "Real estate development? David Hudson. Maybe you've heard of him?" I had. Anyone who read the business section would. Hudson Properties, luxury condos, political ties, ribbon cuttings with mayors. Too big to be subtle, too clean to be clean. "You want proof?" I asked. "I want clarity," she said. "If there's someone else, I need to know." Her eyes drifted to the window. Behind them, I saw something raw, not jealousy, not even heartbreak. Fear. But she covered it quickly. "I don't want him followed forever," she added. "Just enough to see what I'm dealing with." We settled on 2 weeks of discreet surveillance. No leaks, no noise. She paid in cash, crisp bills from a fresh envelope. That always says 2 things. Someone's afraid of a paper trail, and someone has secrets of their own. As she left, I watched her reflection disappear down the hallway mirror. Elegant, distant, like a woman already mourning a man who hadn't died yet. By that evening, I was parked across from the Hudson's penthouse. 12 floors of steel and glass, polished to look expensive and feel cold. David stepped out around 9:01 p.m., alone. Sharp suit, phone pressed to his ear, no smile. He drove himself, unusual for someone at his level, to a building in the warehouse district. I followed from 4 car lengths back, blending into traffic. The building wasn't residential. No signs, no name, just tinted windows and a keypad. Door. He was inside for exactly 38 minutes. When he emerged, he wasn't on the phone. He wasn't smiling. He looked like a man who'd buried something and wasn't sure if it would stay buried. I snapped a few photos but kept my distance. No sign of a woman, no mistress, just secrets. Back at my office, I called Maya, my assistant and part-time miracle worker. "Can you run a property check?" I asked. "Shoot me the address," she said. "What am I looking for?" "I don't know yet. Just find out who owns it." 5 minutes later. Shell company, paper trail ends offshore. That wasn't cheating. That was laundering, hiding, planning. The next night, same pattern. Hudson left again, same time, same place. This time, I got a little closer. I planted a micro cam on the alleyway door. The footage showed him entering alone. Then someone else arrived. A man in a gray suit, no tie, carrying a slim metal briefcase. The two shook hands. No words. Just a nod, and then both vanished inside. On night 3, he didn't go out. Instead, I tailed Claire. She went to a bookstore, stayed 20 minutes, bought nothing, and returned home. A pointless detour, unless she wanted to be seen. Began to wonder who had hired who. By day 5, I had patterns but no answers. I reviewed the footage again. No women, no flirting, no late-night motel runs. This wasn't an affair. This was something else. I sat in my dark office, blinds drawn, a coffee going cold on the windowsill. The case file sat open beside me, full of questions that didn't match the answers I was being given. Claire's words echoed in my head. I want clarity. Not the truth, not justice. Clarity. As if she already knew what he was doing, just needed someone else to confirm it. Or maybe someone to take the fall if it went wrong. I leaned back and stared at the ceiling. This was no longer about betrayal. This was a warning. And I was already in too deep. By the start of week 2, I was trailing a ghost in a tailored suit. David Hudson's routines were as sharp as his haircut. Morning jogs, midday boardrooms, evening silence. A man polished to perfection, too polished. Even in his missteps, there was choreography. But beneath all that control, something pulsed, something he didn't want seen. On Monday night, he deviated. No warning, no phone call, no pattern. He took a side street downtown and parked behind an abandoned print shop. I stayed a block behind, engine off, camera ready. He approached a steel door and entered with a keycard. Not a code, a card. That meant infrastructure, funding, purpose. I made a note. This is bigger than infidelity, possibly illegal. I sent Maya a photo of the building. Same shell company, she texted, but get this, the listed manager died 4 years ago. No update to the registry. That's not sloppy. That's intentional. Inside, David remained for nearly an hour. When he exited, he looked different, not relieved. Not tense, resigned, as if he'd accepted something he couldn't change. That night, I couldn't sleep. The next day, I dug deeper into Claire. I'd taken her words at face value, her money too, but a gut feeling had started whispering, something's off. A quick background check showed no criminal record, no aliases. But her maiden name, Claire Rayner, popped up in an old news archive. A minor witness in a corporate fraud investigation tied to a pharmaceutical firm. Sealed case. No further info. Why had she never mentioned it? I called Maya again. Dig up anything on Claire Hudson, maiden name Rayner. Look for sealed court records, corporate trials, anything weird. Define weird, she said dryly. If it feels like it doesn't belong on a church bulletin, flag it. That afternoon, I watched Claire leave the penthouse. No makeup, no earrings, just sunglasses and a scarf. She didn't hail a cab. She walked, deliberately, almost too slowly. I followed on foot, careful and distant. She ducked into a boutique cafe, ordered nothing, sat in the back. 20 minutes later, a man in a dark coat joined her. They didn't touch, didn't speak for almost 10 minutes, just stared ahead like strangers. Then Claire leaned in, whispered something. The man nodded once, stood, and left. I snapped 2 photos. Facial recognition came up blank. But when Claire exited, her posture was different. Shoulders tense, jaw set, the way a person walks after they've said something irreversible. Back at the office, I found a file from Maya waiting. On my desk. Thought you'd want this printed? She'd scribbled in pen. Claire Rayner, age 27, was a federal witness in a corporate espionage case. The company's CEO was David Hudson's former business partner. The records had been scrubbed, but not erased. My stomach twisted. Claire wasn't just David's wife. She was part of his past, the part buried deep enough to stay forgotten or destroyed. And me? I was digging it up. That night, I returned to the warehouse. No car this time, just shadows and caution. I climbed the fire escape and pried open a rusted window. Inside, silence. The air smelled of metal and cold dust. I found rows of servers, blinking faintly, humming like distant insects. Beside them, a table covered in files, passports, and photographs. One of the photos was of me. Taken from across the street, through my own window. Another was of Claire, but not recent. Older, her hair longer, different city. And another, Maya. They knew everyone connected to me. Suddenly, every step I'd taken in this case felt orchestrated. I hadn't been following David Hudson. He'd been leading me. I left the warehouse fast, heart pounding, every sense on fire. I drove without a destination, only momentum. I couldn't go home, couldn't call Maya, couldn't trust the silence. I pulled into a gas station parking lot and sat under a flickering light. The case was never about infidelity. That was the bait, the hook. Claire had pulled me in and I'd taken it. But what for? To protect herself? To expose David? Or to test how far someone like me would go for a paycheck and a good mystery? I lit a cigarette even though I'd quit 3 years ago. In this line of work, you learn early. The truth never comes in black and white. It arrives in shades of danger, and I was now knee-deep in it. When the knock came, it wasn't urgent. 3 slow raps, spaced evenly, deliberate, like someone who didn't need to rush because they already knew they'd be let in. Claire froze. I stepped to the peephole. David Hudson stood on the other side, rain dampening the shoulders of his trench coat, expression unreadable. He didn't look angry. He looked tired. I opened the door a crack. "May I come in?" he asked. His voice was low, civil. Like we were 2 men about to discuss a business merger, not the lies stacked between us like explosives. Claire spoke first. "He knows David." He nodded once, eyes never leaving mine. I figured. I stepped aside, letting him in, unsure if I was welcoming a client's husband or the last thing I'd ever see. David entered like he owned the room, not arrogantly, inevitably. Like gravity. He looked at the file on my desk. Photos, notes, surveillance shots. Then at Claire. "I told you this would happen," he said softly. "No," she replied. "You told me to run, and I did. But I couldn't stay gone forever." She turned to me. "This is your truth, Ethan. The one you were hired to find. But it's not the one you think." David sat, folding his hands. "You're not wrong. I lied to Claire, and she lied to you. But we were all trying to survive." He leaned forward, elbows on knees. 10 years ago, I turned state's witness against my partner. He was laundering money through our developments, trafficking, data mining, blackmail. I handed the evidence over to the feds. In exchange, they gave me protection, a new identity, a clean break. But I couldn't let Claire get dragged down, he continued, so I fabricated the affair. Let her believe I'd changed. It was easier to hate me than to bury me. Claire's voice trembled. "But you didn't leave. You stayed. And they started watching again. I saw the signs." David looked at me. "You think those buildings I visit are mine? They're not. They're his. My old partner's. He never went away. He just changed names like I did. And now he's building something worse." "And the warehouse?" I asked. "Not mine," David said. "But I broke in to see what he was storing. He's got dossiers on politicians, bankers, on you. You got too close. That made you a target." I swallowed hard. "Why didn't you stop me?" "Because," he said, "I needed to know how deep the rot went, and you followed the trail clean. You confirmed what I feared." Silence settled like smoke. I looked at Claire. "So why hire me, if you already knew?" She hesitated. "I needed to see if he was still the man I loved, or just another ghost playing hero in the dark. You found the truth I couldn't." My instincts screamed to walk away. Burn everything. Call Maya, call Ro, make it someone else's mess. But then David pulled a thumb drive from his coat pocket and placed it on the table. "Everything I found," he said. "Coordinates, names, accounts. If you give this to the right hands, you'll be doing more good than any confession ever could." I didn't move. Claire stepped forward, pressed something into my hand, a folded photo of the 2 of them, smiling, before all of it. "Whatever you do with this, just don't become what you're chasing," she said. They left quietly. No goodbyes. No promises. Just the sound of a door closing and a storm rolling in. I sat alone, thumb drive in one hand, photograph in the other. There was a part of me, the old part, the clean part, that wanted to hand it all over. Blow the whistle. Make headlines. But I'd seen enough to know how stories like this end. The big fish eat the little ones. And sometimes the only way to win is not to play. I wiped the drive, burned the files, sent Maya on a week's paid vacation, and shut the office down for renovation. Then I buried it all, not out of fear, out of understanding. The news ran a small blurb 3 days later. Warehouse fire destroys unregistered facility. In Midtown, suspected electrical malfunction. No arrests, no suspects, just silence. But I knew better. Some truths aren't meant to be shouted. Some are whispered and left behind.